My name is Abi Eccles and I'm presenting the early findings from a qualitative interview study, which is part of the Online Booking Experience Study, or the OBO study for short. The OBO study is a collaboration between the universities of Warwick and Exeter, funded by the NIHR. As I'm sure you're aware, online booking is fairly common in many sectors, with most people routinely using online booking to arrange their travel, to book entertainment and, perhaps more recently, their grocery delivery slots. GP appointments can also be booked online in the majority of practices, and its use has been promoted by NHS England in recent years. But so far, uptake for online booking has been low. Current evidence on its use has been limited. So the way it is being used within practices is unclear, and little is known about the characteristics of the type of patients who are using online booking. Without understanding how patients are currently interacting with and experiencing online booking services, it's not possible to shape services to suit patients' needs. The OBO study uses mixed methods to examine how patients use and experience online booking services in general practice. The first stage of the study is the quantitative analysis of GP-PS data, which is being led by Exeter. The General Practice Patient Survey is a national survey which is sent to 2.3 million patients each year. It collects data on patients' views, their behaviours and their backgrounds. This presentation focuses on the second part of the study, which is the qualitative interview study. We sent out a scoping survey to patients from 9 practices. We purposely sampled interview participants from this according to their backgrounds and their booking behaviour based on their survey responses. 30 in-depth, semi-structured telephone interviews have been completed, and we're currently carrying out the framework analysis. Initial stages of analysis have been carried out. We've familiarised ourselves with the interview data and developed the thematic framework. This framework represents 47 individual codes. So we're at the early stages of analysis, and I'll share with you some of the early reflections and how these appear to link to some of the findings from the GP-PS data. The GP-PS data shows that people with long-term conditions are more likely to be aware of and use online booking. Our initial assumption was that this was because people with long-term conditions are likely to be more frequent users of GP services. But actually, the interview data suggests it was a consequence of registering for online repeat prescriptions. So participants were typically motivated to register for repeat prescriptions and discovered they could also book appointments online by chance when ordering their repeat prescriptions. Whether they went on to continue to use online booking was often dependent on the availability of bookable appointments. One of the major barriers to using online booking was the lack of available appointments. So for many, bookable appointments were over a week away or often 2 weeks away. Participants often said this was too long to wait, especially when they could call and get an appointment that same day. So there was this urgent routine split. It appears that routine appointments were easy to book, but typically the more urgent appointments were not. However, some participants did find there was good availability in the short term, and they could have booked appointments within a week or so. This, of course, acted as a facilitator for online booking and encouraged their continued use. Unsurprisingly, the availability of bookable appointments was a major factor in levels of use. The GP-PS analysis showed that individual practices were highly influential on the levels of online booking. And this interview data suggests that this may be due to the way practices release their appointments online. We've also seen that satisfaction levels with GP practices generally expands to their perceptions of online booking too. So access systems in general appear to be influential in determining how patients perceive online booking. So online booking acts as another medium for patients to either be satisfied or dissatisfied with the GP services that are available. Online booking doesn't necessarily fix the issue of accessing appointments if they are difficult to access anyway. The benefits of online booking, such as convenience and time saving, were realised by some of the participants, but only in the context of good availability. This may point to some of the reasons why we are seeing a strong deprivation gradient in the GP-PS data, with those from more deprived areas being less likely to be aware of and use online booking. This may be due to how well resourced practices are. So this was just a brief taster of some of the early reflections from the interview portion of the OBO study. There are many more areas we are continuing to analyse and examine, which we'll be able to update you on in the near future. So watch this space, and thank you for listening.